within 20 minutes using this and one app. So I like the message that sends. You know, some new technology can really improve some processes. We used to hire companies to make videos for us. Now we can just use this, right? So entirely new business model. You can get yourself into a lot of problems with these things as well, dangerous little devices, or become president of the United States. First of all, coming back to Tom here, it's very natural to pronounce my name Roar, and I figured out after one day living in the US that it's very natural for people to say Roar, and they also do the dinosaur hands. So I usually go by Ro for my English-speaking friends. I invite all of you to do the same. So that gets kind of tiring after a little bit. I've been asked to talk a little bit about what I do for a living in Skanska, working with lean construction and BIM, and of course, because of today's occasion, also how this ties into Synchro. And I'll be hopefully end up there and talk a little bit about how Synchro kind of releases some of the potential we see with lean and BIM. So I know lean has been mentioned quite a bit here today, but we never really got an overview. How many people here actually know this lean term or has had some kind of course or training? For those of you who are in Norwegian, bygging, involvera, planlegging, yeah, a lot of people, excellent. And BIM, how many people know BIM? See, excellent. And Synchro, of course, yeah. How many of you raised your hand because your colleague did so? Sure, yeah. Some people I work with as well. Okay, so, before we get into the entire terminology here with lean and BIM and 4D and whatnot, when I was hired to do the work I do today, my boss sat me down and had some really fundamental questions that he wanted me to look at. How good are we at these things today, and how can we become even better at it? So I'll share a few of them here with you. There are more, a bunch of questions, but these are this is what I try to really focus on in my everyday life. So what is our ability as a company in Skanska, or as an industry here in Norway, to really collaborate, to identify the challenges together and find the solutions? Not the best solutions for me or for you, but the best solutions for the project. Put the project first and then our interests afterwards. And what kind of processes and tools have to help us with that? How good are we in our projects to measure performance, to identify and see problems before they occur, so we have room to act and actually fix them before they become critical? And lastly, how good are we at combining efficient ways of working? And I'll get back to the post-its for those who still want to hate a little bit on the paper notes. How good are we at combining efficient ways of working with the appropriate technology? And I'm sure we've all been subject to implementing one or the other, but we wish that we had considered both. So let's start from the top. Lean and BIM. So usually when I do lean training, it's like a half-day thing. I don't know how your schedule's looking, but I don't think that we can do that. So for a simplified 3-minute version, you could say, this is not perfect, but it's good enough for this purpose. You could say that lean is about 3 things. Involvement and collaboration, it's about visual management and continuous improvement. This is a simplification, of course, but a lot of people will recognize a lot of the lean principles here. We want to involve people, and where this came from with Toyota, the idea was to ask the people doing the job, how do you want to do this? Or what are your thoughts? How can we do this better? Instead of having a manager telling someone how to do it. And so the most visual way of seeing this in a construction site these days is the last planner system. I just finished my 56th of these sessions, facilitating one of them. I've done a whole bunch. We do it in Skanska, just like the entire Norwegian industry has, for actually planning the product, planning the construction sequence. But last year we also started doing this to plan the design process, like the designing the building itself also needs to be planned, because it's a really really complicated process with iterations and everything. So we do this. We still use the Post-it notes. I'm really looking forward to getting the technology that can replace them. So far, the tools we looked at, you lose something from kind of the human aspect, the really collaborative part of it. So we haven't really dared to replace it. But the day we get the good digital tool that can replace it, I'll be the first one to go out on each and every one of these sites, roll together the paper plans, and go to the parking lot and throw them away. Or burn them, and we can have like a bonfire. Visual management. For anyone has anyone been in like a lean factory thing? Seen lean manufacturing? Yeah, so you'll see all these like markings on the floor, everybody sees where things are going. We use the same things, and that's kind of the principle behind the Post-it notes as well. Everybody can see together. We believe that when people see together, they better understand the problem together, and they're in a better position to solve it. And I'll get around to 4D regarding that principle in a bit. Also, a big thing for us is metrics. So for instance, this is the metrics corresponding to this plan. This is the PPC, the work week reliability. These are the reasons for non-complete tasks. This is a tool that we borrowed from Scrum. Anybody know that planning system, Agile Scrum, right? Breakdown, no burn down chart. This is the reliability per trade. These guys, how much can we trust each and every one of them? And so, of course, when you measure something, you also need to make that visible. So we put this up on the wall, most of our projects, and so people can actually get ownership to how this is going. And continuous improvement. You know, there's a bunch of these kind of figures, plan, do, check, act, the A3 mindset, these kind of continuous improvement things. You need to have some sort of always moving efficiency wheel in your organization, and everyone in your organization should think about improvement. So my first meeting with this was as a master's student, out on site. I'm amazed that this worked. I was a lean coach as a student for 4 weeks with a crew in a beautiful city on the west coast of Norway called Stavanger. Working with a team there, using some analytical tools to look for waste. We changed some things, for instance, the material system, going from this to kind of the pre-packed, pre-cut thing. And we ended up producing, after 4 weeks, twice as fast and 20% less man hours. So this kind of continuous improvement mindset is important. Well, this was all lean and nothing about BIM. And I said that there were synergies, so what about BIM? Well, first of all, for anyone who's been up with ProVice and smart screens and seeing the effects of people huddling around it, putting this into our everyday life, BIM was meant for collaboration, was meant for people to stand there and see things together. Visual management. The more we can use the model to see safety hazards, to see the plan, as we do with 4D, we used to make all these kinds of Lumion visualizations when I started as a BIM coordinator. And it's all about giving people the eyesight to really see what are we constructing here. So that's a big part of it. When it comes to continuous improvement, I should probably do this one as well. This is a corresponding metric tool that we use with this thing. So this is the metrics for the plan, this is metrics for the model, where we have clashes per area over time, so we're actually sure that we get a clash-free model. Continuous improvement, and then for anyone who's done clash detection, I would say that's lean as it gets. Instead of spending hours and days finding clashes, you can do it in seconds. And these BIM people are the most innovative people in our company, I think. They always strive for a little bit of improvement. Can we put the model out on site on the BIM kiosks? Can we use this end-link drilling robot that you find in the back there? You know, any kind of opportunity to use this technology to make our company a little bit better. I've never seen anyone starving to contribute like people in the BIM community in Skanska. So that's a big thing. And when all of this comes together, you have lean, kind of the process understanding, you have BIM, you have the technology, people, and tools. That's when we start talking about BEC. This is terminology we introduced like a year ago, and it's really put these things into a system. And the most explanatory everyday example is the ICE meetings. So this is an example of one of the ICE meetings. This is a much more official video than the first one because it has the S up in the corner. This was made for like a management meeting. This is one of our regular ICE sessions. This was before we got our first real big room, so this is in our auditorium, but the process is the same. We gather the stakeholders together for these ICE sessions, which are not meetings where you sit and drink coffee, but you get together to actually work and actually solve things. We start with a plan. As I said, we use Last Planner also for designs. This is a design schedule. This has nothing to do with sequencing of construction. This is drawings, BIM controls, owner decisions, drafts, meetings, anything that the design team does. We start by checking the plan and measuring PPC, which is this percentage metrics of how well we are performing on a weekly basis. Then we correct the plan. The promises that were not made, they need to be remade. We need new promises for those deliverables. And then we do look ahead scheduling, where we look a few weeks ahead and even a little bit further if we have time. So anyone who's done Scrum, this is probably the closest thing you'll see to Scrum in construction. It's a little bit different than doing Last Planner for the actual production sequence. Then we get into the actual hands-on ICE meeting. And I'm sure a lot of you do ICE meetings and it might look a little bit different, but this is how it is when we do it. We have the schedule for the ICE agenda, which I stole from Gunnar at some point, which have really specific timed objectives we're going to reach. So we start with, we obviously use the BIM model as much as we can. It's been proven years ago that people see better together with BIM. We take the sketches right on the OneNote slides that we take, and these actually go into the minutes of the meeting. And whenever we want to take out quantities, whenever we want to do sectioning, we have all the tools for people really to have a good collaborative conversation. I'm delighted to hear that this way of working has decreased the time we need to solve problems and make decisions from days and weeks and months down to seconds and minutes and hours. And if that's not lean and improving our processes, then I don't know what is. So what you saw here was basically this, the combination of the Last Planner system, ICE, and BIM, metrics to make sure we get reach the project objectives, and ultimately deliver project in the way that the client needs it. So what does this have to do with 4D? Well, 4D is, in my mind, about the same thing. It's not a software. I hope very few of you showed up today and hope that there will be a lot of talk that that 4D is a good software and a good tool. It's more about a process, if you ask me, getting this into the project, using it in a sensible manner. So when I started in Skanska, I was a BIM coordinator, and we used to do all these kind of things with Solibri. We could color code things, we can take quantities, we can make views, and we could use Solibri for weekly planning, but it's not a 4D scheduling software. We had Navisworks, and this was for my first job doing something along the lines of 4D. We had a finished model, a finished schedule, and we linked them, and we created videos. Martin called it Hollywood 4D, was it? Something? So we did a lot of that. Which is, for owners, there's some benefit here. But this is not where the secret sauce is, right? This is not the big applicability of 4D, but it's a start. So if you want to get people hooked, right, this could be a good start. But what we're seeing these days is that we can take this, obviously, like you've seen all day, a step further. So we have right now our first real, proper, truly integrating Synchro into our everyday operation on Ensjø, where we're building a very complex high-rise over this, what do you call it, T-bane. Yeah, the rail going there. We actually have a project team sitting down there, so if there are any questions, just direct them down to them. I'll get back to the specific people in a little bit. So, but what we see is that the ability to have this kind of knowledge and this kind of software and using it in our planning processes that's where the magic happens. Really show people in an everyday setting, how this thing is going to be built. Also, we've done some other tests, such as with the new Skanska Bibliotek, the main library in Oslo. Really taking advantage of some of these tools is, you have some tremendous capabilities here that you can bring forward in an everyday setting. 2 weeks look ahead, looking just at a critical path or whichever view you want to take a look at the running plane.